And is it perfect? So, welcome everyone to our Wednesday session. And this session, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about meditation, cultivating love, and my experience with Dr. Joe Dispenza. So, I'm not sure if everyone knows who Dr. Joe Dispenza is. A lot of people do. And it's always shocking that a lot of people don't. So, Dr. Joe is he was a chiropractor and he got a really bad, and you know what, and I'm getting signs that my internet is unstable. So let me quit Dropbox and let me quit my Bluetooth. If I freeze for any reason, can one of you unmute and just let me know, because it's hard for me to see. So maybe Mary Lynn, maybe you can help me with that, or anybody else. So Dr. Joe, God, years and years ago, he was a chiropractor. He was out for a bike ride and he got hit by a car, and he was told he was going to be paralyzed and he would never walk again. And it was really devastating. He had broken his back and there was just no repair. The doctors were like, you're just never going to walk again. And he had all this time, right, to just lay there. And so he started to really work on this whole idea of our minds can heal our bodies. And now today, you've all seen him. He walks, talks, he's in better health than he's ever been. But that's kind of his whole platform, is your body can heal you. And he talks a lot about the science, which is what I really like, because in this, especially for animal Reiki, right? We go in, we tell people this works. How does it work? Why does it work? Because it does, because we get calm. Well, there's actually science behind that. We have an energy field, and our energy field, when our energy field is calm, then we can create calm and peace. And Dr. Joe had so much science. I mean, it's 7 days of meditation and science. So it's like the first day, it's mostly just about hearing, kind of like the basis of what we'll be doing, and just kind of, an introduction to what's happening, as far as like, this is what your week's going to hold. This is what we're going to talk about. Hey, Diane, welcome. And so the first day, it's just kind of like, you're there, but you're there with 2,000 people. So it's very overwhelming energetically, because you've got 2,000 people there. And that was a little bit like, wow, this is kind of crazy. But it was really interesting how, even though there were 2,000 people, and this, I think, is also science, right? The attraction. So even though there's 2,000 people, it's really funny how you end up seeing the same people a lot, even though they're not necessarily in your group, because when you go, you're assigned a color theme, right? So we were pink. We were told, it was so funny. We were said, oh, the pink group always has the mystical experiences. And it's like, yeah, right. They just needed more pink people, because we actually had probably the least amount of people. I don't know. There was like purple, white, blue, green, orange. And I don't know, men probably don't like pink as much, but we had a really great group. And because our group wasn't so condensed, we actually had a lot more freedom for sitting. So it was kind of cool. You're in these groups of colors. And it was also very cool because, of course, everybody wants to be in the front row to see Dr. Joe, right? And you want that opportunity as well. So what Dr. Joe does is, there's usually 2 color sections in the front, and then he rotates every day. So we had 2 opportunities to be up in a front area near Dr. Joe. And one of the days, Dr. Joe, my friend that I went with, she's like, oh, I already know how to do this. We're going to get the second row. He always goes to that second row. And he did. And it was actually a little too much for me, because Dr. Joe's energy is huge. And he is not a big man. He's a short man, but he really, like, his presence is just like, whoa. So you're just kind of overwhelmed by him. So he kept standing in front of us, and I'm like, dude, you got to move. I'm just like, so like, boom, my whole body. But anyway, I'll kind of go through like the whole thing that happened. So we get there and they put you in color groups. And I actually was picked to be one of the meditation study groups, which meant that I had to go and give blood and saliva, and like they scraped my cheek, and they also made me spit into this little thing and take my blood pressure, do all my vitals before I started the day. So this was the very first day. You go in and you get all these different tests done, and then you get chosen for one certain meditation on a certain day. So I think that I don't think there were that many. I think there were only like 100 people in the study, and out of the 2,000, and out of, you had about 16 people doing a meditation at a time. So what they would do is, my meditation was on Monday. So I got there Saturday, and my meditation was on Monday in the afternoon. And so I got, you had to go Saturday. I had to give all of my vitals. And then on Monday, before my meditation, they hooked me up to like a cap that they like put all these little probes on your head so that they can monitor your brain waves while you're meditating. And so that was really kind of cool. And the meditations with Dr. Joe are anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half. So it was a long time you're meditating, but the meditation I was really grateful for that they chose was actually one I could really go deep in. So it was really kind of cool. So they monitored me, and me and 15 other people during this meditation. And then immediately following the meditation, they came and they drew blood. They took cheek scrapes. They did my vitals, and then they made me spit into a little container so that they had all of these I don't know, body fluids that they could measure, right? And then I had to go back one more time on the last day to give my vitals again, so that they could measure me the very first day and measure me the very last day, and then measure me for my meditation. And what they're doing is they're hoping to get 1,000 subjects by the end of the year, so that then they can kind of do a collective study on how meditation affects different people with different backgrounds, and find a common, thread amongst all these different people. So welcome, Anne. So great to see you. And Joan is joining us. And I think I said hi to Sari, and I just want to make sure I get everyone, since we're a small group today. And I think I said hi to Diane. So that was really kind of cool to be a part of that. And every day I had to record a video about how I was feeling and what the different meditations of the day were bringing to me, and how my opinion of myself and the world changed day by day. And so that was kind of cool. And day by day, your view of yourself really does change. Your view of yourself starts to become more loving and more supportive. So that was really beautiful. And also, so I've had like psoriasis breakouts and autoimmune diseases, long haul COVID, all this stuff for, the psoriasis for probably 20 years, right? And I was on a steroid for long haul COVID, which put my rash kind of at rest for over a year. But then, of course, when you're on a steroid for too long, talking to you women, I got osteopenia and osteoporosis in my little bird arms. So my little bird arms are just ready to break off, according to my doctor. So I had to do something about that. But what was really cool was, and there's all this science the doctor talks about, is that like about by Wednesday, my psoriasis was like 70% clear. Now it's come back since, because, you have to realize you're in a room with all these people. The energy is just going boom, 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 boom. And so of course you're going to heal on some level. And that's why Dr. Joe has these amazing healing experiences. But just back to like kind of the whole thing. So when you go to Dr. Joe's, you pick your color, you go in for your introductory, hey, this is what we're going to be doing this week. And then the next day you are in the room by 6 a.m. and they start with a meditation. But here's a really fun thing. And this goes to all of you people who teach human Reiki or any type of human class where it's kind of heavy. This is a really good tip for all of you. So Dr. Joe, every morning and every afternoon before, when we were coming back from lunch, And in the breaks, there would be like a morning break and an afternoon break. Every time we come back into the room as a group, there would be music playing, like really happy, fun, dancing music. And you could get up and you could dance. And then Dr. Joe would come on the stage right on the last song, and he would dance. And so would his assistant, Kelly. And it was really fun. And it was a release, right? So in the morning, 6 a.m., you're tired, but there's music playing and you're really excited to be there and you get really happy. And so that was really cool, because when you're in a room with that many people and you're doing something really super heavy, people start to get really weird, right? You start to get like your energy's getting like this. And so the music was really a really cool release. It was a really wonderful way for us to just like, boom, like kind of let that out. So that was every single day. So that was really, really fun. So we go in there 6 a.m. and then it gives you instruction, you do a meditation. And at first, of course, the first meditation, your body is fighting it. Your body is like, I don't want to be here. This hurts. This is boring, blah, 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 blah. You know, when you very first start, you are just, and it's really funny because you realize how strong, when you look back, especially to the first day, how strong your mind is and how it just is like, no, this is not going to be good for you. You're going to be uncomfortable, right? But as the week goes on and you start to learn all the techniques, it's like, no, body, it's okay. And Dr. Joe tells you that almost immediately. Remind your body, it's okay. Send your pain love. And it's really cool because your body starts to calm down. Your body starts to go, okay. You know, I kept sending love to my hip because my hip always hurts. And by day 2, my hip like ceased to hurt. And it wasn't like I was working out or doing anything to kind of help it or stretching even, because you're so exhausted by the end of the day. It was just your body is getting healed from these meditations. So, you know, the first day is you've got 3 meditations, you've got a lot of instruction, a lot of science. Hey, Nancy, a lot of science, so much science about why we do what we do, right? And I won't go into it. If you want a really good book of his that talks about the science, get Becoming Supernatural or Breaking the Habit of Being You. Both of those are really great books, and I'll put links in the recap for those. But they're really great books. And actually, everything he talked about in the conference are in those books. In fact, I was really surprised. I think it was Becoming Supernatural. I was looking through the book because I wanted to follow up on something that he had said. And I was like, oh my God, all the slides that he used in the presentations were literally from this book. So, you know, you can learn a lot from reading his books about the science of meditation and why we do what we do. But Dr. Joe, so the first day, you know, it's kind of hard, and you're going from 6 a.m. You have like an hour and a half breakfast and an hour and a half lunch, but you go until about 7 o'clock at night. And then you've got to eat some kind of dinner. And then, you know, by the time you get back to your room, it's time to go to bed and start the whole thing over again. So we did this every day until, what day was it? Thursday. So every day was a new day with Dr. Joe. It was deeper and deeper. Thursday, we had the pineal gland meditation. So your pineal gland, there's all this science. Again, Becoming Supernatural talks all about this, how it creates melatonin, serotonin. It's just such an important gland in your body. And he's teaching us meditations to access that gland. And so you're working all week kind of, and he's really good about doing repetition. He repeats the same information over and over and over again so that you start to really absorb it. So when we did the pineal gland meditation, and ladies, this was hard. It was 4 a.m. in the morning. He wants you up at 4 a.m. in the morning because your melatonin production is highest from 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. So you want to get at 4 a.m. when your melatonin is at its very highest to get the best possible meditation. And I've been waking up at 4 a.m. since I've been back doing my meditation, and it's so hard, but it'll get easier. So anyway, 4 a.m., guess how long the meditation was? 4.5 hours. Okay. And it sounds incredible. And like when he's telling us we're going to do this on Saturday or Sunday, we're just like, no way. There's no way, right? there's no freaking way you can meditate for 4.5 hours starting at 4 a.m. without falling fast asleep. So thankfully, I'm a morning person. So I was wide awake, going in there. I didn't really have a problem. But the way he leads the meditation is he like has you seated, you do this really great breath work, you go into meditation, and then he has you lie down and he allows you to kind of drift off. And then he brings you back and he keeps doing that back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So by the time it's over, it honestly felt like one of the regular hour-and-a-half meditations. It did not feel like everybody was like, whoa, I can't believe it's 8:30 in the morning. I can't believe we've been here this whole time. It was really crazy. So that was happening. And that was really incredible. And so that's the second to the last day. And then you have the last day and you only go the last day until about 2:00. And then you're done for the day. So it was Saturday to Friday and it was incredible. And I had just the most incredible experience. And I'm probably going to get emotional because what struck me the most was the similarities between our practices. So Dr. Joe focuses on the chakra system, but he calls it your energy centers. He doesn't really say chakras really hardly at all. It's mostly this energy center, that energy center. We're going to focus on, your first energy center, your second energy center, your third energy center, right? So you kind of have to know the chakra system. Some people didn't. Some people went in there. It was really funny because before you even go to his conference, he requires you to take, and you get it for free as part of the conference. You get it, but you don't get it to own it. You just get it for free to do it. There's something called his progressive workshop, and you can buy it for $300. And if you're looking to study with Dr. Joe, but you don't want to invest in his conference, buy his $300 progressive workshop because it's 25 or 28 hours of instruction. A lot of what he shared in the conference. And so that really prepared me. But I was shocked how many people did not do the course. The course really helps you. It gives you the blessings of the energetic centers that we practice in there. A lot of the meditations that we did in the conference were based on some of these core meditations that he gives you in this progressive workshop. And so it's a really good investment for $300. So I highly, encourage you to get it if you're interested in learning more or studying with Dr. Joe. So, but in there, he talks about blessing the energetic centers. So you have your 3 energetic centers, right? And your sacral, the very first center, right? Your sacral chakra is really kind of where like the hara is, right? Because your hara is 2 finger widths below your belly button. It's a little bit maybe below it, but right in that center between 1 and 2. And then you have your heart, right? Number 4, you have your 4th energetic center, your heart, which of course, we work with what? The hara and heart. And then you have the throat chakra, and then you have your 6th chakra, and he's tying that to the pineal gland. And then you have your 7th chakra, your brain, and, third eye, whatever this is up here, right? For us. And then you have your 8th energetic center, which is really your, what is it called? Your torus, your energetic field. And so through animal Reiki, we aren't really focusing on this 8 energetic field necessarily, but we're creating an energetic field, right? With all of our meditations, right? Joshin Kokyo Ho, we're breathing in. And what are we doing? We're breathing out and we're creating, we're envisioning our light and our energy around us, right? So it was all very, and I was like, whoa, this is exactly what we already practice. So even though we've got these 8 energetic centers, right? And he's talking about them, and we're doing a meditation, he really only focuses on energy center 1, energy center 4, your heart, and energy center 6 and 7, really, the pineal and here, right? So that was really cool because then he says towards the end, if you want coherence in your body, you've got to have your coherence in your mind and your heart. Well, what do we practice, ladies? Kokoro, complete balance of your heart and your mind. So it was like, what? I mean, Michelle's talking about it. It was like, we are already doing the magic that Dr. Joe is doing. But here's the difference. We aren't And I learned this just the way I teach, right? This is going to change the whole way I teach, because we're not focusing enough on, look, people, we got to stay here. We got to stay here in this beautiful space with animals and focus on that coherence. Because what are the animals? The animals, when they're in perfect balance, they're in perfect coherence. That is why they can love unconditionally. That is why they can love without resentment. We can't, because we are never in coherence here, right? It's always, oh, my mind, my heart. They're always off like this. Very rarely are we in coherence. When we're in coherence, when we're in that full-bodied feeling of love, then it's really easy for us to share love. It's really easy for us to let things that normally irritate us go by, because we're in that perfect balance. But when we have irritation, when we have anxiety, when we have all these things, boom, we're out of focus. We're completely out of alignment. So it was really beautiful to be reminded that our practice, what we're doing, is already being practiced by Dr. Joe on a much deeper level. And he's got all this science that backs it up, right? So, I'm going to have to really dig deep and really start to pull things out of this book to really start helping support us as we're doing our Let Animals Lead. Because there's so much here that supports us and the work we do with animals. And we are so blessed, because it's much easier for us to get into this beautiful coherent state because of animals. And what was really kind of shocking about the whole thing was they're all talking about oneness. Joe's talking about oneness. Everybody's talking about, oh, it's oneness. But they're not talking about animals. And they're not, in fact, there were birds when we were doing our walking meditation. And only a couple people were remarking on how like the birds would come close, and the birds were like, they were really into what we were doing. And most people are just in their heads, in their selves. And and I could see why, because animals bring us out of ourselves. They remind us why our practice is so important and why we have to let go of our mind, this whole body that we're so attached to, and just get into that space, that beautiful space that's up here, not down here. Because what do animals show us? They can rise above all of their physical, everything, and be up here. And this is where we meet them. And Dr. Joe is really all about coming up here into the quantum, coming up into this beautiful quantum. And so, for a long time, I've been saying, yes, animals rises up here, but what is this? What is this up here? Okay, well, this is the quantum. And we can get to the quantum so easily with animals. And when we get to the quantum, it's so easy for us to let go of everything that's happening down here. And I have a really cool experience that I want to share with you guys, but I'll wait, because I want to share more about this whole experience with Dr. Joe. So then Dr. Joe is talking about his stallions. He's very machismo, Dr. Joe is. When he's talking about his stallions that he has, he's talking about his dogs. There's 10 dogs. I don't think he has these dogs anymore. God only knows what happened to him, because he got divorced. And I don't know that he has his property up in Seattle anymore. But he had these 10 dogs, so they were all protected the property. And in fact, there's one story, and it's in his books, and he talks about it a lot, how he was walking up his driveway at night. He had his dry cleaning, and he heard this deep growl, and it was a cougar. And he didn't know, what was going on. So he went down and got his ranch hands. They came up with guns, and the cougar had a baby. And so I don't know what happened. I'm assuming they let the cougar go with her baby. I hope to God they did. I don't really know. So, but it's sad, because, instead of just going, okay, I'm sure there was another way around his property to get into his house, whatever, and allowing her, because she's more scared than he is, right? There's this oneness that's happening, but he's not connecting to that oneness. And I mean, I'm not criticizing him. If a cougar was there when I walked up my driveway and it's dark and I've got my dry cleaning, I probably would have used my dry cleaning bag to go and be big and just kind of, slowly slink away. But I know where he's coming from, but at the same time, you could feel that total disconnect, right? The complete disconnect. And he was talking about riding his horse. And he's like, and you have to kick your horse to get him to do what you want. And I'm like, oh, do you? Wait, whoa. Oneness. Remember oneness. You're one with the horse. So there are these little things that as an animal lover and an animal advocate, it was kind of hard. But I mean, he's on his own path. I'm on my own path. It's okay. And then he kept making fun of vegans in an eating kind of way, not because vegans are for animals or advocates for animals. He would just make fun of gluten-free people and and vegans and all this. And I'm like, people are vegan not because of food stuff. They're vegans because they don't want to eat animals. And again, oneness, Dr. Joe, oneness. And so there were things like that. I'm kind of like, oh, you're as elevated as you are, you still have a lot of work to do, right? And we all do. We all have our work to do. But what I loved about that, and then okay, Anne, I'll get to that in just a second. But what it was a really great reminder of for all of us is that you never want to make someone your guru. You never want to blindly follow someone. You want to always be analytical. And I was very lucky that I met a few people that were in that. I met this beautiful French boy. He was 25 years old. There was probably 100 people between 18 and 25, which I was really just kind of so happy about and just overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh. And they all had anxiety. They're all there because they had anxiety. But there was another like subgroup of people who were like 25 to 35 too. And then there were older people, a lot of men, which was really nice. But it was the younger boys that were really just into it and really talking about it. And so I met this really beautiful French boy, or he's a man, I guess he's 25, named Fabian. And we had a lot of really wonderful discussions about, just being analytical when you're listening to people and they're sharing their information. And I always say this as a teacher, I'm just your teacher. I'm just sharing information from my perspective. You're going to take that information and you're going to make it your own. And so you have to be really careful too about your experiences, right? So in Dr. Joe's conferences, there are people who have these, and I don't know why they did this because it really kind of narrowed people's minds. They would call them mystical experiences. So I don't know if any of you have seen When Harry Met Sally, and Sally does the fake orgasm scene in the restaurant, So you hear that basically in the room because people are having their orgasmic, mystical experience. So everybody kept being like the person I went with, and other people were like, I haven't had my mystical experience because that hasn't happened. And I'm like, I can guarantee you that will not be my mystical experience. My mystical experience is going to be something much different, much deeper, and you guys aren't even going to be involved because my mystical experience is my mystical experience. So people were getting caught up, like the girl I went with, she was like, she had a beautiful mystical experience, but she wasn't calling it a mystical experience because she didn't experience the orgasm. And I'm like, but you had one. It was beautiful. It changed you. I mean, that's a mystical experience. And same with the French boy. I'm going to call him boy because he's 25 and I'm 60. Fabian was kind of had a mystical experience in the coherence healing. And I'll talk to you about that in a minute. And he's like, but it wasn't this. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be that. So it kind of set the stage early, very, very early, that your mystical experience is going to look like this. And it's not. And it was a reminder for all of us. You hear this in Reiki classes a lot, but I didn't have what they had. I didn't get what they get. Never compare yourself with others because your experience is your experience. And if it felt mind-blowing and life-changing to you, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter if anybody else was like, oh, really? Oh, well, that doesn't sound that great. Or somebody might be like, oh, yeah, okay. I mean, I've been in classes where teachers, you have this really incredible experience and they're like, and this isn't with Kathleen, please don't think it's Kathleen because Kathleen would never do this, but other teachers where they're like, oh, okay, yeah, great, perfect. And you're like, I just had this thing. I just shared this with you. It was like part of me. So we have to be really careful about, expecting others to kind of co-sign what we've experienced, because they probably won't. It's our own beautiful experience. And then also having compassion and being a witness. Hey, Sherry, being a witness for others who are experiencing, something really mystical, right? But being careful not to label it as something when you're teaching or when you're sharing, like, oh, this is called a mystical, anything could be a mystical experience. Me getting a parking space when there's zero parking is a mystical experience for me sometimes, right? So, we want to really be careful on how we label things and how we narrow things, because then Dr. Joe goes on to talk about, how we can get what we want, but the only way we can get what we want is by being open to the unexpected. So I'll talk about that in a second, but we're kind of going through like the whole days. So one of the things that we did, which was very interesting and very cool, was we did a coherence healing. So coherence healing is when, there's 2,000 of us, is when they get around 200 people to be healies, and most of them are attendees. You have to apply for it to be a healie. And then they did bring in some children from the outside. So there were like maybe 10 kids from the outside, and then there were attendees that were these healies. And so the rest of us were told that, there was like 8 to 10 of us around each person. And we were told, like when we were in the hallway, we go into our heart space, right? So you connect with your heart, you connect deeply with your heart. And then you come into the room. We're still connecting with our hearts. He's walking us through just really connecting in that heart space, the space of love, the space of gratitude. And then we come around, we sit down. The healie is laying down on the ground. The healies are already laying on the ground when you get in. So they've already prepared the healies before you even come into the room. And then it's about a half an hour meditation. But what he has us do is we have our hands over our heart. And then at one point he says, okay, rub your hands together. And now put your hands in front of your heart, outwards. Your palms are facing outwards. Now, he gives a big caveat on this. You are not sending energy. You are not directing energy. You are not doing anything. You're just putting your hands out from your heart. It's the heart energy, the heart frequency that's going out. And you're not doing anything else. And he makes that very clear. And I know he does that because there were Reiki people there. We're not healing with our hands. What I loved about this, because it also is exactly what we do with animals in the Let Animals Lead method, come from our heart, right? We're sharing that beautiful heart space. And that's all we did. That's all we did for these people. The most beautiful thing, it was like the energy was like this in the room. I mean, you were pulsating. I was like rocking. I mean, it was just so big. And the energy of love was just swirling. And when the meditation stopped, you just felt love coursing through your entire body. And it was like you're just, I feel bad for the healies. They're just like kind of trying to come out of it, right? And we're all just standing there like looking at them. And they come out, and it was really beautiful. So the first one, it was really wonderful. And the man, sat up, and he was by me. So I put my hand on his shoulder, and he was like, yeah. And then one lady said, can I give you a hug? And so then we all gave him hugs, and then we just kept hugging. It was just like, he just kept going around being hugged and hugged, because you just feel the deepest feeling of love you've ever felt. It was like everything in the world was okay in this space. So we did that 3 times. We did it Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And so people got 3 coherence healings as a healie. But as the healer, you're also being healed. I mean, there's no way you can't be healed in this beautiful energy of love and compassion. And it was just the most beautiful experience. So that alone was like worth going to Dr. Joe to experience that beautiful feeling of love. So also what was very strange is that he talked about sometimes there are beings that come into the room. They're these big, tall, blue beings. And he had testimonials of people who were cured by these beings. One lady, she had some kind of pain, and the being took her leg and like was yanking it and yanking it. And she said it was so much excruciating pain, but then all of a sudden there was no pain and it was gone and she was healed. And so I didn't see any beings. I don't know if anyone else saw any beings, but one of the women that I met, Vanessa, she said that she felt hands on her head like this. And she said it was very heavy and she didn't want to come out of the meditation and put her hands on her head. So she just did her thing. But she said even after the meditation ended, she could kind of feel it and she put her hand up to wipe and she said there's nothing there. And then another lady that I met, she said she felt like someone was leaning on her shoulder, like looking over her shoulder at the Healy the whole time. And so she was surprised when she looked over and there was nobody there. And then the friend that I went with, she said she felt her hands being moved like this, like she could just, her hands were just moving and she didn't know what. So there were some things that were, you know, and I'm not here to say that it's true or not true because everybody's got their own experience, but it was really quite magical. But one of the things, I mean, I guess like my biggest takeaways from all of this was that what we are doing in the Let Animals Lead method is so important because it is like almost parallel to what Dr. Joe is doing, right? The only thing I think we're lacking is we need a stronger intent. We need a stronger intent to go into that heart space, to really share that heart space of pure love with the animals, to not have this worry, this concern, because as soon as you worry, as soon as you're anxious, as soon you're taking yourself out of the frequency of love and out of the frequency of where anything can happen, where healing is possible. You cannot heal in the frequency of you heal in the frequency of love. So when we're going to sit with animals, it's very important for us that we create that energy of love. And, you know, one of the easiest ways for us to stay out of fear, to stay out of pity, to stay out of worry is through the precepts or through the all is well mantra. It's so easy for us to do this. We have the tools we need. And then Joshin Kokyo breathing. It's exactly what Dr. Joe is doing, right? Breathing into your first center, breathing into your hara, igniting that beautiful light that's within you. And he had a whole thing about light, whole thing about the light within us. And now we're sharing that light and it's our energy. It's going out, right? With our energy now, I want your mind to go out with that so that you're understanding that your energy field is huge. You are huge and you're just putting it further and further and further out. And guess what? With your energy goes your mind. Your mind needs to go far out into the quantum so that you're not here going, oh my God, what's wrong? What's wrong? You're in the quantum where none of that even matters anymore. So it's for us as animal Reiki practitioners, we really need to focus on that energy of love, focus on that energy of expansion, and know that in that space, the unexpected could happen. That is where miracles happen, and miracles happen every freaking day. So one of the things he was talking about, which I thought was really a cool and made sense to me about manifestation. So for like the last few months, I'm like, there's more to manifestation than what I am getting. You know, these people are like, take this course and manifest, take that, manifest. And it's like, I can't manifest that way. And visualization does not work for me. And I was so grateful to find out why it doesn't work for me. So when you want something, when you want, like, let's say you want more money, right? Okay, you want more money. What Dr. Joe says, okay, you're going to go into the quantum. You're going to calm your mind. You're going to connect your body, your mind, your heart. You're going to allow yourself to go out, right? And so we can do this with the Joshin Kokyo breath and the light. Go out into the quantum and send that desire out. But you have to send it with your heart. You have to go, I want money. Money's going to make me feel so happy, right? I'm going to feel so good. And you send that emotion of what having more money will bring to you. So like, if you are like, it'll bring you freedom, right? So you bring that emotion. You don't visualize anything. In fact, he doesn't really want you to visualize. He wants you to just put the emotion of it out there. Now, guess what? There's a second part. Once you put that first emotion out, what's the underlying emotion behind the money? Freedom, right? Freedom. I will have freedom. Money brings freedom. Money brings opportunities, right? So what does that feel like? What does freedom feel like to me? So now I can generate this beautiful energy of what freedom is, right? And I'm sending it to the quantum. And now I just say, I expect the unexpected. And I bring it back to my heart. I bring all of that back, that energy of love back to my heart. And I tell myself, be ready for the unexpected. Now, I'm going to share with you. I'll put it on speaker view so you guys can see my face when I explain this. So I had, when I came back, you know, I'm all high from my thing. That's Saturday late. Sunday, I have this horribly emotional experience with my nephew and my sister. And I am just out of sorts. I'm angry, I'm upset, I'm the victim, I'm just da, 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 da. And I'm like, no, because one thing Dr. Joe says is remember, remember, remember. You've got to remember how you felt in those meditations, right? So I'm telling myself, remember, remember. And I go outside and I go, okay, I'm going to do a walking meditation. I've got a walking meditation of his. I'm going to do the walking meditation. And throughout the walking meditation, I'm like, but, you know, my mind is like, no, you're right, because, but, and I'm like, no, Leah, you've got to do this. You've got to do this. So in the walking meditations, there's walking, and then there's standing, and then there's walking, and then there's laying down. And so it's walking, and then I'm standing, and I'm like, okay, I'm feeling a little better. And then I'm walking, and I'm like, okay, I'm feeling a little better, still having those voices. And then I go to do the lay down part, and it's nighttime at this time. So I just like went to bed and laid down and did, you know, the last part of it without falling asleep. And then the next morning I woke up and I'm in the shower and my voices are still like, oh, but you're right. You're right. And I'm like, no, Leah. And I kept telling myself, those thoughts are poisonous. They're toxic. And if I truly love my sister and my nephew, I don't want them to be sick. So I'm not going to think those thoughts. I'm going to think love. I'm going to replace every negative thought with love. And I'm like, nope, I expect the unexpected. I expect the unexpected. And then later that afternoon, the total unexpected happened. And it was so beautiful. And it was like, everything was perfect. Everything was healed. Everything was, and I did nothing. I didn't have to do anything except for believe in the unexpected and to believe in the power of love and to believe that love was going to heal everything. And I am so grateful for that experience with Dr. Joe, because that opened up something completely different for me. But we have it. You don't have to go to Dr. Joe to experience that. You have the tools with the Let Animals Lead method. You can do Joshin Kokyo Ho. You can do the healing bridge, right? To get your heart out, to bring that energy of love and put it out. And then let it go and expect the unexpected. Expect something beautiful and magnificent to happen. But here's the deal, right? We're so used to thinking negatively. We think that's more realistic. And we talked about this ad nauseum. But the reality is that love is what heals. Love is what is going to change your circumstance. Love is going to bring you exactly what you need, what is divinely intended for you. And we are all here to be happy, thriving people, but we get caught up here in our heads. And so we have to let that go and bring it down into our heart and just see the world from our heart. And Dr. Joe, in his Becoming Supernatural, he talks all about the different peace projects that I think I've shared with some of you at different times, but he talks a lot about the different peace projects that happened around the world and how during some of them, 70% of terrorism was decreased during these peace projects. So we as a community, we as a group, all these animal loving people, we can change the world if we start coming from our heart. And it's not easy to do. You have to practice. So in the Let Animals Lead method, we teach you all these different tools that help you with that. So, my biggest takeaway from this is that, I made some notes. We can surround. Oh my God, I've got a really great, I know we're kind of coming to end and I want to do a meditation, but I have a really great example of how we can influence things. But, reminding ourselves that we are infinite, that love and gratitude are the most powerful emotions we can share. But also, he said this, and I thought this was really powerful. Fear, if we want to get rid of fear, we want to get rid of violence, then we have to replace it with peace. We can't replace fear with fear. We can't replace violence with violence. We can't replace violence with fear. We can only replace the negative things that are happening through love, through peace, through compassion. And we can do that because we have the tools to do that through the Let Animals Lead way. And Eddie and Nicole, welcome. And I know you joined a little late, but we're just kind of finishing up here. But I want to share with you guys a really super cool experiment. So before I do, I'll get to Anne's. Anne said, have you heard science has validated humans have brain cells in our hearts? No, I hadn't heard that, but it makes total sense because your brain and your heart are connected. And that's what Dr. Joe talks about, is this total balance, this total coherence between the brain and the heart, which affects our entire energetic field. And so again, Joshin Kokyo Ho, our energetic field, right? You can actually visualize your energetic field with Joshin Kokyo Ho. It's so easy. And remember, Joshin Kokyo Ho is like 1,000 years old, 2,000 years old. There's a reason we do this meditation, people, because it's effective. It's been used for thousands of years, or hundreds at least, at the minimum. So in this practice, and if you don't know the Let Animals Lead method of Animal Reiki, take a class, learn it, because it truly is life-changing. So I want to tell you this really cool experiment that happened. There was, they had a robot. Well, and he talked a lot about, they put robots in the room. You can't see them. It's just like this little robot thing. And it measures like the frequency of like the room. And so when you have a group of people, there's always like, whenever there's frequency, there's always like a pattern. It's like a 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 1, 2, 2. There's always like a pattern. It's like 50-50. Kind of like tic-tac-toe. It's always like there's always just never a clear outcome of anything. But when they put this robot thing in the room with all of these meditators, there are patterns that are created that are just like out of this world. And so they showed this little video clip, and I think you can probably find it. It's where they took a robot and they took some baby chicks and they made the baby chicks kind of impress upon the robot, or the robot kind of impressed upon them that was their mother, right? So the baby chicks would follow the robot around, and they did that for a little while, right? And then they took, and this is a robot, remember, this is a robot. So the robots in this room with the baby chicks, they take the baby chicks and they kind of sequester them over in a corner. Now the robot, when the baby chicks were following it, was just kind of doing a random little pattern, do constant over and over, dot, wouldn't go to one thing or another and stay, just beep, 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 all over the room. And it was probably programmed to hit every corner, right? But they put the baby chicks in a little sequestered area, and the baby chicks were calling for the mom. And the robot kept going to the baby chicks, going to the baby chicks, going to the baby chicks. This is a robot. And the baby's love was influencing the robot's movements. Now, I was like, because guess what? You know how we are, oh, I'm scared of AI. AI is going to ruin the world. AI, No, we can influence AI. We can influence AI to be good, to have love. We can influence electronics with our love. I don't know if you guys, like, I know if my energy's off, my computer starts whacking out. It's like, okay, I have to calm myself down and go, okay, ooh, and now my computer will work better. But if I'm like, then everything starts to, things get stuck, keys get stuck, my screen will freeze, whatever have you. So just know that your energy affects more than just nature, animals. Yes, and the cars, Eddie, isn't that the truth? And the cars, my car, sometimes the back hatch won't open and I'm like, what the hell? You know, it's like all electronic and I'm just, come on. And so then I have to just go, okay, send love, and then it opens. You know, we influence everything in our world. So I know we don't have that much time. I don't know if any of you have questions or if you want to just comment or anything. We do have a few minutes and then we'll do a heart opening meditation. We'll do the Joshin Kokyoho so that you guys can just experience going outwards. So, and you could just unmute or whatever you want. And nobody has questions? All right. Oh, yes, Eddie, thank you.
Well, it's not a question. It's I'm really sorry I came late. I had to work, but it's a very fascinating experience what you shared. So I have to see it later.
Yeah.
Louise Hay has a meditation where she sends love even to the planes that you're gonna board, the trains, the buildings, everything, because there's an expression that she uses, some like they get damaged because we are not in a good place, in a good position or something like that. When you are in a good centered position of love, pretty much everything, flows.
It's exactly right. And it's like what Scarlett was talking about with like Florence Scovel Shinn. Know that love is going to bring everything you need to you. That belief too, that deep belief that you are deserving. And that's why I think that a lot of times, and why it's hard, Eddie, for us to be in that space, is because there is a part of us that doesn't think we deserve better, right? And so we have to really heal that. And the way we can heal that is by healing our heart and healing what's happening with us. And the easiest way for us to do that is to be with animals, because animals love us unconditionally, no matter what. And if we can be in this beautiful space with animals and feel that deep love for ourselves, then that is the time when you can put out to the quantum, this is what I want, right? When you're in that beautiful meditation, you feel love. Take that moment to say, this is what I want. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're not taking away from anybody or anything. If you're putting out to the quantum, this is what I want, and expect the unexpected. And the reason for that being is if it were expected, it's not worth having, right? Because we limit what's coming to us. We limit what we're receiving. And so we have to be open to something bigger than that. And I remember years ago, I used to love going to Paris. I love Paris, love Paris, love Paris. Oh, just love, 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 I love Paris. And usually if I'm going to go on a trip, I have a dream about like I'm in Europe, and it's never like I'm in Europe and I'm having a great time. It's I'm in Europe and I can't catch my flight, or I've missed something, or I've taken something on the plane and they don't want me to. There's always a weird thing. So I was like, oh, maybe I'm going to go to Paris. That would be so cool. But what happened was my ex-father-in-law had bought me a ticket that I couldn't use. And I had this ticket and I was like, I don't even know what I'm going to do with this ticket. And then my friend called me and said, hey, I'm taking my nieces to Paris. We're going to stay at the Letitia, which is like in this beautiful area right by the Bon Marché. It's so gorgeous. And she's like, and I want to know if you want to come. And I'm like, oh my God. So I literally got a free trip to Paris, but I wasn't visualizing it. I wasn't thinking about it. And I go back to this. Dr. Joe reminded me of this because it was like, yeah, I just love Paris. And I was in a place of love and in a place of openness and in a place of receiving, right? So literally the unexpected happened for me. And there was a time when I was working corporate where I was just in a really good place. Like I loved my job. I loved me. I loved everything. And it's really cool how things unfold for you when you really start to love yourself and love your life. And I was really deeply reminded of that because I've had so many challenges the past few years, and I've been in a place where I haven't been happy. And so I was just reminded that, you know what? Happiness is just a smile away. Happiness is just a heartbeat away. We don't have to do something big to be happy, to feel love. We can give it to ourselves all the time. You know, just the appreciation of who you are, where you are, and that elevates you. So, does anyone else have it? Yeah, Mary Lynn.
Unmute. So what I think I'm hearing is studying Dr. Joe's way is a self-improvement.
Yeah,
it would help with improving yourself,
yes.
maybe taking barriers away, or
Yeah, I mean, studying with Dr. Joe is like just going deeper in your meditative practice. He's very intense. And so you're really going deep. But when you go deep, you start to really understand like the benefits of meditation. And that's why, like, you know, for all of you who are Let Animals Lead practitioners or teachers, it's just a nice extra step to go study. And again, you can take the progressive course, the online progressive course for $300. And it's really fulfilling. You don't have to spend, you know, the conference was $2,500, and then you have to pay for the hotel, and the hotel rooms were about $250 a night. So, and you do want to stay on property because, like, the pineal gland, 4 a.m., you don't want to have to drive in. There were people that drove in. I don't know how they did it, but you know, you really want to stay on property. So it's quite an investment in yourself. But it's not an impossible goal either. So if that's, you know, what you want to do, then yeah, but you could start with a progressive course. So yeah, Eddie.
Yes, Marilyn, what all that you said is exactly what happens. Okay. I haven't had the chance to go because of money right now, but I will.
Yeah.
However, you can go to YouTube and see many of the meditations, many of the analysis and the research, and it's scientific research that they apply on their self and on others.
Mhm.
What's interesting though for Let the Animals Lead is that at one point they do a hand imposition to someone who's lying on the floor, and that is really Reiki.
Yeah.
That's really send energy. That is, so what you guys do or what we do here with the animals, it is true, it works, and it really heals.
Yeah.
Now, the important part is that we have to believe and we have to feel that we have already the result that we're expecting. And that is the challenge, at least for me, because it's hard for me to imagine that and walk like, hey, I made the big jackpot at the lottery, you know, or I made the the big title at the company. It is hard for me to live like I already have it, but that's the key. That's the challenge for us, and it's also the challenge. I mean, I apologize if I'm being wrong here, Leah, but it is the challenge when we send energy to whoever we or whichever animal friend we're sending energy to, because we gotta believe that we're sending it. We cannot expect that the energy is going to be this or that, but we have to believe that yes, we are sending it.
Well, and that they're receiving, and again, we're not really sending energy per se, we're sending love, the energy of love. And that's, I think, the most important distinction is that it's the energy of love. Because sometimes if we get caught up in Reiki and energy, then we're like, oh, I've got this energy and I'm sending this energy. And it's like, it goes deeper than that. It's the energy of love that heals. And so, yeah, and that's basically what you're saying, Eddie. And thank you so much for that. So hopefully that helps, Mary Lynn. I know we're coming to time. And Beth said, you can find a lot of his research for free on YouTube, and that's very true. You can get a lot from his books, Becoming Supernatural and Breaking the Habit of Being You. So there's those, but I really want to close today with a short, just heart meditation to remind you all of the power of what we do. And that remembering that when you go out with animals, all you're doing is sharing love. Just share love without expectation, without attachment. Share love, and that in that space, that's where miracles occur, however that looks like for the animal. So let's sit straight up, have our backs nice and tight, or nice and straight and tight. Bring our hands into Gasho at our heart center. And just take a couple deep breaths here, breathing in deeply through your nose, pulling your breath deep into your belly, expand your belly, and then slowly release your breath out your mouth. And with your breath goes any tension you're holding on to in your body. And just a couple more breaths like that to release all stress, remembering that stress is toxic to our bodies. And we're going to replace stress with love. And let us set our intention that we're open to holding space for all sentient beings and for all of our earth, all of our world. And whenever you're ready, you can put your hands face up or face down on your lap. And I want you to focus on breathing in through your nose and pulling your breath deep into your belly. And then slowly releasing your breath out your nose or out your mouth. And I want you to imagine that when your breath hits your belly, it ignites a light within you. On the in-breath, the light grows bright, and on the out-breath, the light grows brighter still and starts to fill your belly. Every breath in and out, the light grows brighter and brighter within your belly. Now I want you to imagine the light from your belly coming up into your heart. And when the light comes up into your heart, feel the energy of love expanding at your heart center. The light from your hara, from your belly, expands the light at your heart, and it expands the emotion of love within you. Every breath in and out, your light grows brighter, as does the energy of love. You might even feel yourself smiling. The energy of love is so strong within you. And now imagine the light at your heart coming up into your third eye, connecting with your mind, your brain, and filling your mind with love and light. And now envision this light and the energy of love growing so strongly within you. It starts to seep out every cell of your being into the space around you until you're completely engulfed in light and love. And as you breathe in and out, your light and your love expand and grow stronger. Envision your love and light filling the room that you're in. Visualize yourself as a beautiful, loving sun. Your rays shining everywhere, spreading love everywhere around you, 360 degrees. You are love. You are the beautiful, healing light of love. And your energy brings healing, comfort, and peace. Now envision your light growing brighter and brighter, extending out in through the city that you're in, touching all of the trees, streets, the sidewalks, the buildings, all of the people. Imagine them feeling this beautiful wave of love touching their hearts. And envision your light going further out. You are the sun. You are infinite. Your love and your light can reach anywhere in the world, anywhere in the universe. You are infinite and limitless. And you share the knowledge that only love can heal. Only love is true. Only love can reach dark spaces. If your mind starts to wander, if you start to feel limited, just focus on your breath. Focus on the expansion of love. Trusting that your beautiful energy is reaching all who need it. You're bringing comfort and love to those who need it most. In this space, there is no suffering. There is no darkness. There is only light and love. And bring your hands into Gasho. And slowly start to bring yourself back. Bring your focus to your breath, to your physical body. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes and bring yourself back. Oh, and Anne, I didn't see you had your hand up. Did you want to comment on something? Oh, no. Okay.
No, I was just opening my hands and it
Oh,
thought I was raising.
your little electronic one went on. So thank you so much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this. Do look for Dr. Joe. He's got some really wonderful free resources. Again, those books are amazing. And as I said at the beginning, a lot of the slides that he used, a lot of the information that he used is from those books. So, and I'll put all the information you need, a link to the progressive course and his 2 books that I mentioned in the recap on Friday. But in the meantime, oh, and I'm doing a level 1 at the Care Foundation in Apopka, Florida in October, or actually the last weekend of September. So if any of you are close to there, you want to take a level 1, it's the first time I'm going to do a level 1 at the Care Foundation, and it's going to be really incredible. Or if you know somebody who's in that area, please be sure to refer them, because this would be a beautiful way to learn animal Reiki with the tigers. And I know Beth is smiling. She knows very well just how powerful those animals are, and the monkeys and the lemurs and Lola the bear. And thank you so much, Kelsey. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. I'm so glad you joined us. And thank you all so much for being here. And I will see you next week. I can't remember what the topic is. I think it's something kind of along the lines of this, but more about love and meditation. So it was wonderful seeing all of you, and I will see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was great.